I was born beneath twin suns, but I don't remember their warmth. My first memory is of the mines, deep beneath the surface of Zarath-9, a factory world carved hollow by greed. They call us the core, and once, long ago, we had cities that touched the clouds. Now, we scuttle in the dark, eyes dulled by dust, hands cracked from stone, backs bent under the burden of generations. We were slaves before we could speak the word. The Zerath Dominion was not content to conquer planets, it conquered souls. They broke us not with violence, but with silence. You'd be surprised how quiet a world can become when no one dares to hope. We worked in endless shifts, sleep, eat, dig, sleep again. A cycle designed to erase thought, to grind the idea of rebellion into dust finer than the rocks we mined. Those who spoke too loud were taken. No one ever saw them again. I am Tarn, son of no one, brother to the broken. I had accepted my place. I had accepted that the whips would never stop cracking, that the air would always taste of iron and ash. Until he came. It was cycle 541.3, marked by the turning of the mining winds. The overseers brought in new slaves from some outer world skirmish. I remember the rumbling of the transport freighter, the hissing of hydraulics as it lowered its ramp. We gathered to see the newcomers, not from compassion, but from curiosity. New arrivals broke the monotony. There were 23, most were small things, frail, defeated. I could see it in their eyes. The Dominion had already carved its mark into their hearts. But one stood apart. He was tall, towering, even though thin with hunger. His skin was pale, sickly. His hair was the color of burnt wire. But it was his eyes that struck me. Not their shape. Those round predator eyes were strange enough, but the way they looked at the overseers, not with fear, not even with hatred. With contempt. When they barked commands at him, he didn't flinch. When they shoved him forward, he didn't stumble. And when the guard raised a shock button to strike him for not kneeling, he caught it. He caught the baton mid-swing. Gasps rippled through the crowd. You don't touch an overseer. You don't even look at them unless ordered. Yet there he stood, unmoving, hand clamped around the weapon. The guard's eyes widened, but instead of killing him, he simply shouted, "Inject him." And 3 other guards rushed forward, plunging syringes into his neck. He dropped like stone. The guards dragged him away, cursing. One of them muttered, "Stupid ape, doesn't know when he's beat." Ape. I turned to an older slave, a hunched engineer named Vesht. "What is he?" I asked. The old one squinted after the limp body being dragged into the barracks. "Human," he rasped. "From the soul wastes." Soul? I had never heard the word. He nodded. A system the Dominion tried to burn a few cycles ago. Small world, loud people, thought they could fight back. Didn't end well. I looked again, just before the body vanished into shadow. He tried. He caught the baton. I had never seen anyone resist before, not in the open, not like that. For the first time in my life, I felt something stirred deep inside me. Not fear, curiosity. They assigned the human to Section Delta, the lowest of the low. That's where they send those they want to forget. I volunteered to transfer there. No one does that. Delta breaks you. The air is fouler, the supervisor's more cruel. But I needed to understand what I saw. He didn't speak for days. We worked side by side, digging, lifting, drilling. He was strong, stronger than he should have been, for someone his size. The gravity on Zarath-9 was heavier than Sol, yet he moved like he was made of steel. But he wouldn't talk. Until one day, I caught him humming. I turned to him. "What is that sound?" He blinked. "It's a song. A song." The word tasted strange. "Is it for worship?" He chuckled, low and dry. "No, it's something humans do. Helps pass the time." I didn't understand. "Do all humans sing?" He shrugged. "Some. Helps keep your soul from cracking." I looked around. "Soul." He pointed to his chest. "The part of you they can't touch." I studied him carefully. They touch everything. He looked me in the eye. Not that. That was the first time he smiled. His name was Marcus Vega. He used to be a soldier, he said. Earth Defense Legion, 17th Battalion. Not that it matters. Anymore? We lost. Then why did you fight? Because it was right. Right. Another strange word. He used many of them. Words like justice, freedom, and dignity. Things that didn't exist in our world, and he never called himself a slave. Not once when I asked him why. He said, "They may own my body, but they don't own me." The others began to notice. The way he carried himself. The way he faced punishment with a grin. The way he helped the weak, slowed his pace for the elderly, shared his food, what little there was. He became a whisper, a rumor, a flame. The overseers beat him more than anyone else. They tried to crush him, but every time he stood back up, something in us shifted. The human wouldn't break. Maybe we didn't have to either. One night, during rest hour, he sat with me beneath the vent shafts. The metal above was glowing, orange from the twin suns. He tore a piece of fabric from his shirt and began wrapping it around his knuckles. I asked, preparing for a fight. Always, he said. Why, you can't win. You said yourself Earth lost. He stared into the glow. Yeah, but not because we were weak, because we were alone. I tilted my head. Alone. He turned to me, eyes fierce. There are more like me, scattered, broken, but not defeated. And when they hear what happens here, when they know the fire hasn't died, they'll come. But first, he raised his wrapped fists. First, we light the spark. Later that week, the guards dragged a sick worker from line 17, old, slow, coughing. They tossed him into the furnace pit, a punishment for inefficiency. We watched, powerless. But Marcus moved. He stepped forward just a step. The guards barked, back to position. He didn't move. Another step. Last warning, slave? He looked them dead in the eyes. I'm not a slave. And then he ran. He ran straight into the guards like a comet, slamming one into the wall. The others fired stun bolts. He grunted, faltered, but kept swinging. A baton cracked against his ribs. He caught it, broke it over his knee, and hurled. The shards. The old worker, half conscious, had rolled near the edge of the furnace. Flames licked closer. Marcus dove and pulled him back. Screams. Alarms. The guards descended like vultures. They beat Marcus into unconsciousness. Again. But the old worker lived. The next day, whispers turned into quiet chants. A name spread through the tunnels like smoke. Human. They punished us all. Reduced rations. Double shifts. Random beatings. But none of us broke. Something had changed. Eyes lifted. Spines straightened. We spoke in codes now. In songs. I saw children drawing strange symbols in the dust. Stars. Fists. Fire. Hope. That's what Marcus gave us. He wasn't just a man. He was a symbol. A promise that the Dominion's grip wasn't eternal. One night, after lights out, I approached him. His face was swollen. One eye shut. Still smiling. You'll die if you keep this up, I said. He shrugged. We all die. The question is how we live before that. Then what now? I asked. You can't fight them all. He leaned close. Not alone, but together. His bruised lips curled. We burned the whole damn system down. They tried to break him again. 3 cycles passed since Marcus saved the elder from the furnace. The overseers dragged him to the public platform, a raised metal slab in the center of Sector Delta, usually used for executions. They strapped him to a cruciform post and let the whips fall. I counted 57 lashes before I had to look away. Even then, I could still hear it, the dull, wet crack of pain striking flesh. Each strike was punctuated with a word from the overseer: obedience, crack, silence, crack, submission, crack. Yet he never screamed, not once. When the whip frayed, they brought out the shock rods. When his skin tore open, they poured cleaning acid to sterilize the wound. He passed out twice. They revived him with injectors just so they could beat him more. By the end, even some of the guards looked away. The message was clear. This is what happens when you stand. But it had the opposite effect. Every lash made us stand taller. That night, we gathered in silence. Nearly 60 of us crammed into the old coolant tunnel under Line 9. Marcus lay on the ground, barely conscious, wrapped in scavenged rags. Vesht applied a paste of tunnel moss to his wounds. He needs rest, Vesht whispered, and protein. Real food, not this recycled grain slop. We don't have real food, someone muttered. Marcus groaned, his swollen eye blinking open. Then steal it. We all froze. You shouldn't speak, I said. Why? He rasped. The words matter more than the pain. You'll die. He coughed, then smiled. Better than living like this. Vesht frowned. You can't. Keep defying them. The Dominion will bring the enforcers next. I hope they do, Marcus said. Because when they show up, I'll know we're making them afraid. There was a silence, long and deep, and in it, I realized the truth. He wasn't just fighting, he was teaching us how to fight. It started small. Tools went missing. Minor equipment failures spiked. Sabotage, but smart, always low level, enough to cause frustration, not alarm. A shift cable here, a coolant leak. There, just enough to bleed time. Marcus taught us how to avoid detection, how to spread acts of resistance across sectors, how to use Dominion procedures against themselves. One time, he smuggled a burner coil out of the furnace maintenance hatch. It took him 3 days and a broken finger to unscrew it. When that line shut down, the overseers worked double shifts trying to reroute the load. He whispered to me, that was for lash number 12. He remembered every strike and repaid each one. But Marcus didn't just teach us sabotage. He taught us how to stand. Literally. Head up, shoulders back, feet firm. We were in a storage tunnel beneath Sector Gamma, practicing posture. This is pointless, hissed a young worker named Brock. Posture won't save us when the shock rods come. Marcus stepped in front of him. You think strength is in your arms, your fists? No. Strength starts here. He jabbed a finger into Brock's chest. Confidence, presence. A man who bows is already beaten. But a man who stands, even if you whip him, you remember him. I watched Brock straighten, taller than I'd ever seen him. And for a heartbeat, I saw what Marcus saw. A people not broken, but waking, not all welcomed the change. A core enforcer, who worked for the overseers, tried to shut us down. He had always kept order in the mines, whipping us just slightly gentler than the guards. A traitor to his own kind. He stormed into the tunnel during a training night, flanked by 2 armored guards. This ends now, he snarled. No more of this standing nonsense. One of the guards raised a pulse baton. We know you're organizing. You think we don't hear the whispers? This human is poisoning your minds. Marcus stepped forward, bloody bandages still fresh on his arms. Scoffed. Look at you. A crippled preaching strength. Marcus looked him dead in the eyes. Better a cripple with a spine than a lapdog with a leash. Before the guard could react, Marcus moved. He twisted the baton free with shocking speed, slammed it into the guard's ribs, and kicked Snur into a pipe. The other guard fired, missed, and Marcus was already in his face. 2 seconds. 3 bodies on the floor. He held the baton out to me, then dropped it. You want freedom, he said, breathing hard. Then earn it, every day. From that day on, even the enforcers kept their distance. By the 3rd moonrise, our network spanned 7 sectors. Vesht managed signals using old Dominion repair codes. I memorized rotation schedules. Brock led stealth drills. Even the children got involved, passing coded messages etched into tools or scratched into tunnel walls. The symbol we used was simple, a vertical line, standing tall. They called it the mark of the upright. The overseers noticed. Of course, they cracked down harder. Surprise inspections, random executions. They brought in red masks, elite Dominion interrogators, and still, we grew. Marcus's teachings had become gospel, not because he wanted power, because he gave it away. He made each of us believe we had power too. Then came the incident at Sector Epsilon. The Dominion installed a new sonic suppressor, a machine designed to emit low-frequency waves to dampen emotional spikes. It made workers docile, hollow, empty. We called it the drowner. Within 2 cycles, productivity rose 19%, but 6 workers slit their own wrists. 2 more simply stopped moving, stood still until they collapsed. It had to go. Marcus called a meeting. Tonight, he said, we take it out. Vesht frowned. We don't have explosives. We don't need them. We have steel, fire, rage. I stepped forward. But what's the signal? How do we know when to strike? He smiled grimly. I'll let you know. He volunteered for garbage duty that night, a cover. I followed from a distance. Through the vents, the suppressor sat on a raised platform in Epsilon's heart, surrounded by 6 guards. A humming obelisk covered in Dominion glyphs. Marcus approached, arms raised, pretending to stumble. Broken stabilizer. He slurred. Trash units stuck. The guards cursed. One stepped down. Another turned to look. That's when he leaped. Like a viper, he cracked a pipe over the first guard's head, rolled, grabbed the baton, and slammed it into the base. Sparks flew. A warning siren blared. I saw overseers rushing in, but I also saw something else. Hundreds of workers looking up. Some ran, but not all. One by one, they turned, stood, and began to move. The guards shouted, opened fire, and the workers charged. No weapons, no armor, just numbers, rage, and hope. I've never heard screams like that. Flesh against metal, fists against helmets, wrenches swung like axes, tools stabbed like knives, and at the center, Marcus, bleeding, laughing, swinging a shock baton like a warhammer. By dawn, the suppressor was rubble, the guards were gone, and Epsilon was ours. They declared a full lockdown. Across the mine, no transfers, no food shipments, no COMMS. They wanted to starve us out, wait for the fire to die. But they didn't understand. It wasn't a fire anymore. It was an inferno. Marcus staggered into the main chamber, wrapped in torn fabric, ribs clearly cracked. One eye swollen shut. He climbed the slag pile, the tallest point in the cavern, and roared, I am not your slave. The echoes went on for minutes. Others joined him. I am not your slave. Again, louder, over and over, until the very walls trembled. For the first time in my life, I believed we might actually be free. But the Dominion doesn't tolerate rebellion. 3 days later, the sky burned. From the upper vents, we saw the descent of black ships, long, jagged, crawling with weapons. The enforcers had arrived. Elite Dominion death squads. No mercy, no warnings, just slaughter. We had days, maybe hours. In the tunnels, everyone panicked. People begged Marcus to flee, to lead an escape, save himself, but he didn't. He stood firm. If we run, it ends here, he said. If we stand, it begins here. Someone asked, we don't have an army. What do we have? Marcus looked around, then said softly, we have each other. We dug traps, set fire choke, converted mining carts into battering rams. Brock organized torch brigades. Vesht reprogrammed tunnel doors to slam shut on signal. Marcus personally trained every fighter, showed them how to strike, when to dodge, where to aim. Even those 2, young or frail, helped carrying messages, boiling oil, sharpening metal, on the eve of the invasion. Marcus gathered us all in the old furnace room, now our war hall. Tomorrow, he said, They will descend with fire and fury. They think they face slaves. He paused. They're wrong. He raised his fist. They face a people reborn. And all of us, thousands of us, raised ours too. Dawn never comes to ZARE-9. The sky is always choked in ash. The light dimmed by the Dominion's endless forges. But that morning, if you can call it morning, there was a different kind of glow. Red dot, not from the sun, from thrusters from warships descending. The enforcers had come. Their ships screamed as they tore through the upper atmosphere, burning trails across the smoke-filled sky. Giant black wedges of alloy and hatred, armored like predators, bristling with guns. Their descent was not stealthy. It was declaration. They weren't coming to negotiate. They were coming to make an example. We watched from the vents. Even the bravest among us swallowed hard. They'll hit Epsilon first, Marcus said. It's the only known breach. They think that's our core. It's not. I asked. He gave me a grim smile. Not anymore. We had moved our base of operations underground, deeper than even the Dominion knew how to go. Vesht and the older engineers had discovered ancient, drilling caverns, long since abandoned. They called it the throat of the world, and it became our sanctuary. Marcus called it Base Zero. He had insisted we relocate weeks ago. They'll come for Epsilon, he said. And when they do, we'll already be ghosts. He was right. He usually was. But the ghosts were ready to fight. When the enforcers deployed, it was fast. Steel doors burst. Fire-flooded tunnels. Drones hissed through the air like serpents, scanning for heat. Shock troopers with black armor and slit visors stormed in formation, pulse rifles humming. They encountered nothing. Empty corridors, sabotaged lifts, dead COMMS. We watched them from the shadows, through hacked cameras and cracked vents. They advanced with military precision room by room, floor by floor, until they hit the trap. Brock led them into Chamber 17, a wide-open drill room with 4 exits. They only saw one. They poured in. The door sealed behind them with a slam of ancient hydraulics. Then came the gas. Vaporized coolant, ignited by Vesht's modified spark coil. Boom. The explosion didn't kill them all, but it scattered them, blinded them, and when they stumbled, we descended. Dozens of us wielding scavenged blades, industrial hammers, jagged metal. We struck hard. The first kill I ever made was a drone. I drove a sharpened wrench into its camera, twisting until the light went out. The second was harder. A man. An enforcer. He was on his back, arms flailing. He tried to speak. I didn't let him. I don't even remember the final blow, just the way his helmet caved in. The way the blood didn't look real. After that, I stopped counting. The rebellion had begun. We struck in coordinated waves, using Marcus's tactics. Hit fast, hit hard, disappear, do not get pinned. Always retreat to a fallback point. By mid-cycle, 3 of their patrol squads were wiped out, but the cost was already growing. Brock was the first leader we lost. He had led an ambush in Shaft 22, 10 fighters against 4 enforcers. They won, barely, but 1 enforcer had a hidden charge pack. Boom. When we arrived, we found half a tunnel gone. Brock's body was never recovered. Vesht didn't cry. He just pulled out a data pad and erased Brock's name from the maintenance logs. He wouldn't want us wasting time, he said. Marcus simply looked at the wreckage and said, that wasn't a loss. That was a lesson. I didn't understand it then. I do now. Over the next 2 days, we turned the mines into a battlefield. They had superior weapons, armor, coordination. We had home field. Marcus used everything, shaft maps, heat vents, lift, overrides. He once led a squad through a flooded pipe crawl, just to flank an enforcer team. They never saw us coming. But the Dominion never fights fair. On day 4, they brought in flares, not troops, not drones, machines, Four-legged monstrosities, built for one thing, extermination. They didn't speak. They didn't hesitate. They simply scanned and killed. Lasers, spikes, blades. We lost 43 in one night. It was a massacre. Morale wavered. People spoke of surrender, of giving Marcus up. I confronted him in Base Zero. They want you, I said. They'll stop if we give you to them. He didn't even blink. Maybe. For a day. Maybe 2. That's 2 days of peace. No, he said firmly. That's 2 days of punishment before they kill you anyway. He stood, bloodied, but unbroken. This isn't about me. It's about what I made you remember. What? He pointed to my chest. That you are not theirs. The turning point came when we took the relay tower. It was a Dominion beacon perched above Shaft Core 7. It relayed communications to orbit. We had avoided it. Marcus wanted to take it. Why? Vesht asked. We can't call for help. Who would come? Not to call, Marcus said. To broadcast. We captured it on day 6. Climbed through emergency ladders under cover of Steam.4. Guards 3 sentry drones. We killed them all. Marcus and I climbed to the peak and hacked the console. What now? I asked. He stared at the transmitter dish, then handed me a wire. Now we speak. Broadcast number 1. Transmission to all Zereth 9 frequencies. My name is Marcus Vega. I am a human. I am a free man. The Dominion enslaved me, beat me, starved me. They tried to break me. They failed. To every laborer, in every shaft, you are not alone. We have taken the relay. We have taken Sector Epsilon. We have destroyed Enforcer units. You are not weak. You are not worthless. You are not theirs. You are rising. The message didn't just go to ZARETH-9. It went off-world. Someone must have been listening by day 8. Uprisings broke out in other mines. One on Zereth 12, another on the orbital refinery. One of the captured enforcers confessed, entire sectors are going dark. The Dominion was losing control because of a man who wouldn't bow, but the price kept rising. The flayers found Base 0. They breached at night, scuttling through air vents. The first we knew of it was the screaming dot. By the time we regrouped, 20 more were dead, including Vesht. He died trying to reroute power to the gate locks. His final words, recorded by a frightened teen over radio, were, "Tell Marcus, I'm still standing." We had no choice. We had to go above. The surface of Zereth 9 was a wasteland, storms of ash, poisonous air. No one lived there, but Marcus made his decision. We've taken the mines, he said. Now we take the skies. Our last assault was on Control Tower 0, the Dominion's planetary command hub. Dozens of enforcers, automated turrets, scorch fields, suicide, they said. Marcus called it the spark. If we light it here, he said, the whole galaxy will see the flames. He was right. We attacked at midnight, skies choked in ash, wind howling, blades sharpened. We came from every direction, like ghosts rising from graves. Smoke bombs, Molotovs, mining carts on rails. The turrets, whirred the flares, screamed, and Marcus led the charge. I remember the moment he was hit, a plasma bolt direct to the shoulder. He stumbled, dropped to one knee, but he kept going, rushed. The gates tore a turret off its hinges. His voice roared through the comms. Stand now, or stay broken forever. And we did. The tower fell. Not cleanly, not without death, but it fell. We lit the beacon fire, flames roaring skyward, bright enough to pierce the smog. The spark was lit. That night, Marcus collapsed, wounds too deep, fever rising, breath shallow. I held his hand. You led us, I whispered. He smiled faintly. No, you were already ready. I just reminded you what you were. What's that? His voice was a whisper now, free. He didn't die that night, but he never fought again. He passed the torch dot, and we carried it. We used to whisper Marcus's name, in fear the overseers might hear us now. We shouted it, from shaft to shaft, from dome to dome, across worlds. Marcus Vega, the human who stood, the man who would not kneel, the firestarter. He was no longer just a man. He was a legend. After the fall of Control, Tower Zero, Zerith was no longer a prison. It was a battlefield. The Dominion sent reinforcements, full fleets, armed to the teeth. They expected a disorganized rabble, starved, tired workers, with no leadership. Instead, they met an army. We'd seized Dominion forges, and began repurposing everything, plating mining carts with scavenged armor, modifying tools into blasters, converting chemical vats into explosives. We didn't have warships, but we had fire, and we had Marcus's teachings etched in every one of us. The Dominion retaliated with Operation Crucible, a full planetary siege, orbital strikes, atmospheric suppression, psychotropic agents in the water lines, but it only made us harder. We dug deeper, built bunkers with hidden tunnels. We taught children how to fight, taught elders how to lead. Even the injured worked, making traps, running comes, smuggling supplies. We were no longer survivors. We were revolutionaries. Marcus never left the med bay. His wounds had festered. His lungs collapsed from dust and plasma burns. But every day, we brought him updates, maps, reports. He could barely speak, but every strategy bore his fingerprints. Every victory echoed his voice. I remember one night, during a rare moment of peace, I sat beside him. "You should rest," I said. He wheezed a laugh. "Too much to do. You've done enough. You gave us freedom." He turned his head, slowly. His eyes, though sunken, still burned. "I didn't give you anything," he whispered. "You took it." The rebellion spread beyond ZARETH-9. Our signal had traveled far. On Garnice 3, the mining caste rose up. On Valen Prime, dockworkers seized control of the orbital stations. Even on Zerith 1, the Dominion's throne world, protests erupted. The fire Marcus lit had become a wildfire. They tried to censor it, tried to cut comms, erase records, assassinate leaders, but it was too late. The galaxy had seen what one human spark could ignite. But the Dominion wasn't done. They had one last weapon, the Reclaimers. We didn't know they were coming. They didn't arrive in ships. They came through the gates. Tier-space technology, illegal, unstable, and deadly. The sky split open above Zerith 9's southern hemisphere, and from it poured them, not soldiers, monsters, biological weapons grown in vats, flesh-clad titans, stitched with metal and rage, programmed not to conquer, but to erase. The Dominion had realized they couldn't reclaim ZARETH-9, so they would destroy it. They called it Purge Directive 117. I called it the end of the world. Our defenses crumbled. Flayers were terrifying, but reclaimers were nightmares. They dissolved through walls, screamed with minds that tore sanity. One tore through 6 layers of defense in minutes, dissolving fighters with acidic fog. We lost 800 in the first hour. Entire sectors went dark, and Marcus couldn't help. He could only watch. I made the call. Evacuation, not retreat, not surrender, just survival. We split our forces, launched tunnel shuttles to hidden launch pads, praying the old freighter still worked. We didn't know if we'd make it out, but we had to try, because the rebellion had to live, even if Zereth 9 didn't. I visited Marcus before we left. He looked worse than ever, but he was awake. "I'm not going," he said. I froze. "What?" "I can't run. Not now." "You'll die." He nodded. "Maybe." "Then why?" He gripped my hand. His skin felt like paper, because someone has to remind them what it costs to kill hope. I tried to stop him, begged him, but he rose. He strapped himself into an exoframe, weak limbs, supported by steel. Pain etched every movement, but his back was straight, his eyes clear. We called for volunteers. 70 stayed. 70 who would make the final stand with Marcus. I'll never forget that moment. Watching him climb the slag hill, overlooking the burning sky, his battered body framed in fire, and his voice hoarse, cracking echoing through the coms. You want Zereth-9? Come take it. The rest of us fled, through tunnels, through shafts, through escape craft, as Zereth-9 burned. We don't know exactly how they died, but we know they made the reclaimers pay. Sensor logs showed 3 purifiers were disabled in the last 2 hours. The last Marcus sent. Just 4 words. Still standing. Lighted. We did dot from orbit. We triggered the failsafe. Detonated the unstable core, under Tower 0. The explosion fractured the crust. Zereth-9 died, but the rebellion lived. We scattered, carried the story, of Marcus, of the uprising of the mine world, that said, no more. The Dominion tried to spin it, called it a terrorist act, a containment breach, but truth spread faster than their lies. Across the stars, revolts surged. Species long thought broken rose. Slaves became soldiers, workers became leaders, and humans became something more, not conquerors, not saviors, but examples. A question etched into every burned Dominion banner. If one human could stand, why not us? To this day, we carry Marcus's ashes in a stasis vault aboard our flagship, not for worship, for remembrance, for fire. The Dominion thought it was over. Zereth-9 was gone, vaporized. 70 rebels dead, along with Marcus Vega, the human they feared most. The reclaimers were destroyed, yes, but so was the uprising's heart. They thought we'd scatter. They thought we'd fall apart. But Marcus's final act wasn't a death. It was a seed. And seeds don't die. They grow. We escaped on 5 battered transports. FTL barely held. Shields flickered. Supplies were low, but the fire inside us burned brighter than ever. We rendezvoused in the asteroid belt around Delphi system. Quiet. Hidden. Forgotten. That's where the real work began. There were 3,000 of us left from the Zereth-9 uprising. A fraction of what we once had. But we weren't alone. Word of the rebellion had spread like plasma fire by the end of the first week. We had over 12,000 new arrivals. Refugees from Garnice 3 escaped. Engineers from Volan Prime. Even deserters. From the Dominion's own ranks. Soldiers. Who'd seen too much and couldn't bear the lies anymore. Each had a name. Each had a story. Each bore scars. And each whispered the same phrase. Still standing. We needed structure. We needed a plan. So we formed the Council of the Broken. Not a government, but a war table. I was appointed emissary, a voice. I still don't know why they picked me. Maybe because I was the last to see Marcus alive. Maybe because I'd learned to speak like him. But I accepted dot for him. We called ourselves the Coalition of the Unshackled. No longer slaves, no longer afraid. Our symbol was Marcus's mark, the simple vertical line, not a weapon, not a crown, a man. Standing. We built our first stronghold on the hollowed-out asteroid Tavros 6. Engineers turned its caverns into docking bays. Scientists established medlabs and tech foundries. Smugglers brought us Dominion intel. It wasn't a rebellion anymore. It was a movement. We sent out agents, not just to fight. 2 free teams infiltrated prison worlds and broke chains. Hackers sabotaged. Dominion comes. Couriers delivered encrypted broadcasts of Marcus's last speech to 10 systems. The Dominion tried to shut us down. They failed. Because we weren't centralized. We were everywhere. I still remember our first meeting with the humans. Yes, Earth still lived. Not as an empire, but as a survivor. A fleet of battered ships hidden in the Kuiper expanse. We found them through a backchannel broadcast. An old Earth song spliced into static. Ain't no grave can hold my body down. We answered it. Their envoy was a woman named Captain Leona Pierce. Tall, grim, steel-gray eyes. She stepped aboard, Tavro 6, and shook my hand without hesitation. I heard you've got a dead man who started a war, she said. He's not dead, I told her. She raised an eyebrow. He's everywhere now. She smiled. Good. I brought guns. The unshackled and the earthborn fleets joined forces. We formed a military arm, the Vega Legion. Ships, soldiers, tech, training, and purpose. Captain Pierce became Supreme Commander. I became her diplomatic shadow. We wore Marcus's line on our uniforms, not for pride, for reminder. The war escalated. The Dominion tightened its grip, increased propaganda, crushed civilian uprisings with orbital strikes, deployed psychological warfare. But they were fighting shadows. Our tactics were Marcus's strike fast, hit where it hurts. Don't stay. Always make them bleed more than you lose. We liberated Iran's hold, saving 2,000 laborers. We seized Zenthos Station, turning their own weapons against them. We exposed Project Mantle, a Dominion plan to detonate black hole cores to cleanse rebellious systems. It backfired, because the galaxy began to see. I gave a speech on the free net that ran for 16 hours before the Dominion shut it down. Here's what people remember. We were born in chains, raised in dust. They told us we were worthless, that we were beasts, that we deserved only silence. But Marcus Vega stood, and when he stood, something broke, not in us, but in them, because they realized the truth, that we remembered how to fight, and now, we're coming. It wasn't perfect. We still lost people, Captain. Braun killed during the liberation of Cairo's V. Dr. Al, vaporized in a Dominion. Ambushed Dot and Vesht's granddaughter, only 16 died hacking a Dominion data core to expose slave routes. But we didn't mourn as victims. We mourned as fighters, because they died free, in time. We took 17 systems. Entire sectors became unshackled zones, and in every zone, the people stood taller, spoke louder, laughed again. I once saw a former slave carve Marcus's line into the side of a destroyed war mech. When I asked why, he said, because even the machines should know, we're not kneeling anymore. The turning point came at Tarnus Rift. The Dominion had deployed a dread carrier, a mobile fortress capable of orbital bombardment. Our intel was limited. Our fleet was smaller. Our fuel was low. But we had a plan. And we had rage. We baited them into the rift, a region of black hole, shadows, and sensor ghosts. Then we hit them hard. Vega Legion ships surged from asteroid covers, boarding pods, smashed into hangar bays. Pierce herself led the assault on the core reactor. I held the line with fighters on the outer hull. The battle lasted 5 hours. When the dread carrier exploded, it lit the rift like a second star, and the entire galaxy saw it. After that, even the Senate of Neutral Worlds condemned the Dominion. Systems began to declare independence. Pirate clans offered allegiance, and humanity sent the Ninth Fleet. Earth wasn't hiding anymore. It was marching, and then the message came. From Zarathwan, the Dominion capital. 3 words. Let's end this. They wanted peace talks, but we knew better. It was a trap. Pierce looked at me and said, "Your call." I thought about Marcus, thought about the mines, the screams, the flame, and I said, "We end it, our way." We didn't come with parley banners. We came with resolve, with the ashes of our dead, with names carved into the hulls of our ships, with the last message of a man who said no more, and meant it. This wasn't diplomacy. This was reckoning. ZARE-1 was a fortress world. Polished towers of gold and black steel pierced its clouds. Armada shields enveloped the upper orbit, laced with heavy plasma batteries and hunter-killer satellites. It had never been touched by war. That was the Dominion's pride. That was our target. The fleet launched from 5 systems at once. Over 3,000 ships, human, unshackled, earthborn, defected Dominion cruisers. Even modified trade haulers retrofitted for war. We called it Operation Standfall. The final stand of the free against the last throne of the SLAVERS. At the helm, in the command bridge of the Ashlight, stood Captain Leona Pierce, wrapped in black armor, with Marcus Vegas, mark burned into her breastplate, at her side. We broadcast a signal on all Dominion frequencies. This is not a request. This is not a warning. This is not vengeance. This is a reckoning. For the mines. For the whips. For every name you erased. There will be no more chains. No more collars. No more masters. They fired first. Of course. Dozens of capital-grade plasma lances sliced across space, striking the front of our formation. We lost 12 ships in the first 2 minutes, but we didn't flinch. We pressed in. We flanked their defense wall, using cloaked supply ships carrying bomb drones. We detonated 6 relay points in their shield net, just enough to open gaps, and through those gaps, the Ashlight and the 9th Earth Fleet stormed in. They called it madness, but we called it freedom. Every weapon we fired carried a memory. Every hole we breached was a tomb unsealed, and every soldier we faced was already broken by the truth. Many defected mid-fight. The rest died. On the surface, we landed near the Grand Plaza of Chains, a place where Dominion emperors once paraded the enslaved. We came not as prisoners, but as storm. Pierce led the ground assault. I followed, flanked by 5 former slaves, now commanders. We tore down statues of long-dead tyrants and used the marble to block landing zones. We turned propaganda speakers into transmitters for Marcus's final speech. If you can hear me, you can still stand. The Palace of Command was the final holdout. It rose like a spear, minus 600 meters of obsidian alloy, surrounded by shock walls and EMP towers. Inside it, the last High Chancellor of the Dominion. His name was Kral Vesh, architect of the Reclaimers, butcher of 19 systems. He waited with guards, drones, and a private shield generator. We didn't wait. We breached. They called it the last door. It took 6 charges and 3 hacked Dominion keycards to open. Behind it, Kral Vesh sat alone on a throne of iron, draped in ceremonial chains, perhaps, once worn by slaves for his amusement. He looked up at us like we were insects. "Do you understand what you've done?" he rasped. Pierce leveled her sidearm. "Yes," she said. "We broke your spine. You've brought chaos." "No," I said. "We brought choice." He sneered. "You think killing me ends the Dominion?" I looked him in the eye. "You already ended it. The moment you feared a man who had nothing. We didn't execute him. We made him walk down the Grand Plaza, unarmed, UNCROWNED, before every liberated prisoner we'd brought with us, and as he walked, they turned their backs. Not hate, disgust, because tyrants fear bullets, yes, but they drown in silence. That night, in the same plaza where our people were once chained, we gathered every sector, every race, every banner, gathered under one light. The fire of a single torch, held by a child born on Zarithni. Her mother killed in the mines. She raised it high, and the people whispered, then chanted, "Still standing, still standing, still standing." We buried Marcus there, not his body. We never recovered it, but we carried a metal fragment of his exosuit, a recording chip with his voice, and the first line he ever drew, scratched into rusted alloy. We encased it in crystal, placed it on a pedestal in the Plaza of Chains, which we renamed Freedom Square. The Dominion didn't fall in a day, but the myth of it did. Their systems collapsed. Their soldiers deserted. Their slaves rose. We formed the Union of the Free. Systems, not an empire. A pact. Every world decides its own laws. But no world may take another's will. No being can own another, ever again. I was offered command, offered the title of Supreme Chancellor. I refused. Instead, I became the first keeper of the flame, a steward, not a ruler, a voice that reminds the future what we came from. Because power isn't freedom, memory is. Now. Years later, children play in the ruins of the Palace of Chains. The mines of Zerithnin are gone, turned to dust. But I still hear his voice in every oath sworn, in every whisper of rebellion that sparks on some forgotten world. Stand, and you. Change everything. They say, we were slaves. Then a human said no more. And we said it louder, we screamed it. And now we're free.